Hi everyone, it's Lisa and welcome to Lisa's Stamp Studio. I'm continuing my series today on the brand new Brusho. These are the watercolor crystals that actually burst and create color when they come into contact with water. It's an amazing watercoloring medium. Today I'm going to teach you two more techniques with it. I don't know if it's going to show up on camera very well, but I have embossed with white embossing powder an image on shimmery white cardstock. And I want to create a wash over this, but I'm going to teach you a little twist to it. We're going to create a color palette of our own. So I'm going to start with a little bit of the yellow Brusho. If you missed my first video last week, the Brusho 101, you'll want to go back and watch it, and I explained to you about not opening the lids and about the push pin. So I've got myself a little palette here that I picked up at the dollar store, and I'm going to put a little bit of powder in there. When I say you need just a little, I'm not kidding. It goes a long, long way. I'm going to recap that. And then I've got a little bit of the Brilliant Red. So I'm going to put a little bit of that inside. Okay, no two of these are ever going to be alike. So if you're trying to mix the same color over and over again, it's going to be quite difficult, but I've got a tip for you about that as well. So I've got my aqua painter here, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to squeeze a drop of water in there, and I'm going to mix these around. And then I can kind of see what it's going to look like. Well, you see it looks kind of corally yellow, doesn't it? It's kind of pretty. Let's see what's going to happen. So I'm using a very wet aqua painter, and I'm going to brush right over this beautifully embossed image to create a wash over it. Now I'm using shimmery white cardstock, like I said, so when this dries, it's going to be a really, really pretty. Look at it. I've got a little bit of blue picked up in there. I noticed that a lot of the colors have pigmentation of other shades underneath them. So I'm just going to kind of blend that in. This is going to need to sit and dry for about 30 minutes, oh, maybe a little bit less than that, or you can take your heat tool to speed up the cleaning process. But I have a card that I made with the same technique that I have finished to share with you. Look at this one. Didn't this come out beautiful? I actually was able to get a powder pink hue that I paired with the beautiful designer series paper from the Occasions catalog. This one uses the little bit of the yellow with the gamboge. Believe it or not, that gave me a pink. And like I said, no two are going to be alike. When I'm doing a lot of Brusho work, I find that I can go through the water in my aqua painter very quickly. So I leave a small container with water on my stamp table. That just makes it a lot easier and a lot faster for me to be able to just quickly clean it off without having to refill this time and time again. That's just a small tip for you. Keeping with that same emboss resist technique, I want to show you something else. What I did is I embossed the words again in white embossing powder, and I sprinkled on a bunch of powders from the Brusho to create a very resistant look. Lots and lots of colors here. And again, I'm going to show you how no two are going to look alike. So here's a finished card with the exact same colors. Look how different they look. So you can see that's just another way by covering the entire piece of cardstock with the sprinkled powder and then letting it dry. This is very similar to the technique I taught you last week, but against embossing powder. The next technique I want to show you is how you can paint with the images. Again, I know this is really hard to see that flower on here that has been white embossed again. So I'm going to take some more color, and this time I'm going to use the gamboge, and I'm going to use it in one of my trays. And again, you need very, very little. These crystals are going to last you forever. And I'm going to take my aqua painter and I'm going to add another drop of water, very much like we did before, but this time I'm actually going to color with it. So in the areas here where the embossing is, I'm actually going to saturate it to put in a little bit of color. Do you notice how this gamboge, which is an orange, has a yellow undertone? And if you want it darker, all we're going to do is add a little bit more. So let me show you how this works. I'm actually going to pick this up and I'm going to actually go over the entire image. This image has a coordinating framelit, so it's going to die cut it for me. But I'm just going to try to stay within the perimeters of the embossed image. But let's say I want to add a little bit more pigment to the center. So I'm going to take a little bit more of my powder, and I'm going to use one of my little clean little alcoves here. Recap that. I'm using my water again to clean off my brush so I don't have to refill it, because you're going to need to clean that off well. These powders are very pigmented. And then I'm going to put a drop in here, and you can see that this is more red, but I'm going to go in the inside of this one just to give it a little bit of shading. I'll tell you what, you're going to feel like an artist when you use these because, again, no two are going to be alike. Also, it creates beautiful highlights. All right, I've got a finished card with this one as well, and you're going to see here that, again, the tones are very different, especially how you mix them. Isn't this beautiful? I did the leaf as well. Now let me give you another tip. Do you see this color up here? This is actually the same Brusho that has dried, but you know what? It's reactive again. So I'm going to rinse off my brush. I'm going to bring it in a separate piece of scrap paper, and I want to show you. It looks blue, doesn't it? All right, so I'm going to add a drop of water here from my aqua painter. And then I'm going to brush it in. And look at, I made a purple out of this one. I mixed the green and the blue together to do some coloring. Isn't that gorgeous? So there's all kinds of things that you can do with these Brushos to create all kinds of beautiful different backgrounds and resist techniques. Again, here are the cards that I created with the techniques that I showed you today. Remember, you can find these over on my blog. If you're here from YouTube, the link is right down in the description below, or you can click on the information button right here on the screen. Make sure you join me next week. I've got lots more to teach you. Thanks so much for joining me, everyone. I look forward to seeing you next time. Have a great day.